So let me tell you a little story first. So I've been working in the Small Business Development Center for the past 18 and a half years. And for the first 15 of those years, I did it all wrong. I failed. I failed my clients, I failed the community, because I did it the way everybody taught me to, which was somebody comes in, they want to start a new business. What's the first thing you say back then? Here, write a business plan. Spend 40 hours of your life making up figures, making up facts, making up what you think the customer will want. Putting together 3 years of financial projections, taking that to a bank, usually putting a guarantee of your house down on a loan to get that business started. And what happens when you start approaching customers? They blow up the business plan. They say, I don't want that. That's not what my need is. And then that entrepreneur has a choice. That entrepreneur has a choice of saying, well, those customers are dumb. I know what they want. They just need to agree with me, right? Or they say, the customer wants this, and I'm going to deliver it to them. So they change what was in their business plan to what the customer wants, and then they start selling that. But the problem is a lot of entrepreneurs didn't make that jump, didn't make that pivot, and they ended up failing. What's the percentages? You always hear the statistics of every small business or every business start or 80% will fail, sometimes 90% will fail within 5 years, right? We found a different way to do business development. Because business plans have their place. Business plans have their place in execution. That's what business plans are for. They're to execute on an idea that is solid. The difficulty is that when you're starting the business, you're here, what we call the squiggles, right? You don't know where it's going to end up, and you're trying to find it. So you have to find a different way to be able to do that. Otherwise, your business will fail. That's the reality, and it happens all the time. So our friends over at CB Insights, which is a venture capital industry resource, have defined the top 20 reasons why businesses fail. Number 1 on that list, no market need, right? Other issues that are related directly to this, user-unfriendly product without a business model, and ignoring customers. This is why you need business models and customer discovery to explore all that before you get out and invest a whole lot of money into creating this business or delivering a new product. So our solution is called Brave Launch. Brave Launch is a business accelerator. Now, we didn't make this all up. We stand on the shoulder of giants. So Steve Blank started this whole movement. Steve Blank is a serial entrepreneur out in Silicon Valley. After like his 6th or 8th exit, he decided to get into entrepreneurship education. He started teaching at Stanford and at Berkeley. And he discovered that people create really cool products that nobody wants. And so why not have them go out and do customer discovery to find out who are those customers that have a problem that product solves. So he developed this program called Startup Owner's Manual that eventually led into a bigger program called LaunchPad, which myself got certified in. Actually got to meet Steve Blank while I was getting certified. Had lunch with 60 of his closest friends in his house, which was really exciting. But Steve was approached by the National Science Foundation because the National Science Foundation gives out grants called Small Business Innovation Research Grants. They're known as SBIRs. And what they discovered was people were creating really cool technology that nobody wanted. So they wanted to take those researchers and those small business owners through a process to help them to identify the market before they created that really cool product, so that they could create a product that people actually wanted. So this process is also used by the Innovation Corps within National Science Foundation. So Steve Blank is kind of like the godfather of this whole movement, but he has a lot of his students and mentees that have developed further onto his ideas. So for example, Alex Elsterwelder was in his class in Stanford. He created the business model that's most prevalent today. Eric Ries was a student, and Steve Blank invested into one of his companies. And then Ash Mori has kind of added on to what Eric Ries does. But these are the books that have developed onto these ideas that Steve Blank initially developed. And the whole idea is around utilizing the scientific method and agile development to create better businesses. So it's all about the discovery portion of this, where you create your best guesses, your hypothesis, and then you create tests to go out and disprove that hypothesis, right? Just like a scientist would when they're doing scientific discovery. And what ends up, the guesses get put into the business model canvas, and the tests are what we call customer discovery or customer development. So who's doing this? So myself and Kevin Evans, a lot of you probably know Kevin. He is the director of the Small Business Development Center. We are both instructors for this process, and we're going to be leading this training. Cameron Horn is our manager of rural business development. He's also going to be experiencing this for the first time. So he's part of our team as well with this whole thing. So what is it? Brave Launch will take 10 teams through this process. It's a 7-week process, and with 10 sessions. We start off by accepting applications. You can apply on our website, bradley.edu/BraveLaunch, and those applications are due by August 26th. We have interviews of the applicants between the 28th and the 30th, and then on September 3rd, we notify everybody of who are the 10 teams. And then our sessions start at the end of September, on September 24th. We have a kickoff. The 25th, 26th, and 27th, we will have a boot camp. These are going to be, this is an intensive program. It's going to run from 8 a.m. till about 8 p.m. But we don't keep you in the classroom for that whole period, right? Because the answers are outside the classroom, outside the building. So we actually have you start doing interviews that very first day. Over the course of that 7-week program, you're going to interview about 100 different customers or anybody within that value chain for your product idea. And through that customer discovery, through those interviews, you're not pitching your product or selling your technology. You're finding out what are the pains that the customers are experiencing. What are the pains that the distributors are experiencing and those types of things. Right? So you're learning so much during that 7-week period. Because you have to do 100 interviews, we do have to have teams. So we need a minimum of 2 people up to 4 people per team, so that because you're going to have to do about 15 interviews per week in order to stay on that pace. And then we finish it off with a pitch, and then after that boot camp, we meet on Tuesday nights from 4:30 till about 9 o'clock. And every meeting, we have our teams report back on what they learned and what they're going to experiment on next. And then the final week, we have a full day on the 6th, and then our pitch day on November 7th. And at that pitch day, we bring in venture capitalists from around the region, and those are our judges. We do have small cash prizes, but they're nothing too substantial. But thanks to some of our sponsors, including Greater Peoria EDC, we can offer these cash prizes. Okay? So I encourage you to apply today. We also have some alumni in the room from our previous cohorts. Brian Anderson with Notion Novas, Dave Hendricks from Golf Score Changer, yes, and Brian Rashiska from
Masset.
That's right. So I encourage you to apply today, and there's our contact information if you have any other questions. So, what questions do you have about Brave Launch? Eric.
At what point in a company's development do you find they are ideally suited for coming into this? What stage, or how much homework has to be done, or foundation has to be in place before they're really a great candidate for this?
So that's a good question. So the question is, at what stage of a business of the business development should this be applied for? This can actually apply to a lot of different stages of the business. This can apply to somebody with an idea that is repeatable and scalable. So this is not for the Main Street businesses that are just looking to work with a local geography. This is for the businesses that are planning to scale nationally and internationally. Okay. So a lot of it depends on the perfect candidate relies around that. It applies to startups as well as existing businesses, because businesses, especially businesses related with products, every product has a life cycle, and it will eventually decline. And so businesses, corporate innovation teams are actually using these processes to get into new product development. So this year we're actually looking for a cohort of about 50-50 startups and existing businesses that are looking to develop that innovation process within their companies.
Could you tell us again how many people should be on a team ideally to be involved in this and get the workload done and get results that will be helpful to them?
So ideally, it's 3 or 4 people on a team. We will take teams with a minimum of 2 people, but those 2 people are going to have to be super dedicated and have a lot of time available to them, because of the intensity of doing those 100 interviews. You really have to. It's better with a team of 3 to 4 people. Andrew?
So just to follow up on that question, really, what are the requirements for entry into the program?
So the requirements for entry into the program are having the team available, having an idea that you're ready to, or a product or an idea that you're ready to scale nationally or internationally, and then filling out the application, and then we have you take your first run through a business model canvas. We know that first run is going to be wrong. That's fine. But it gets you on that level playing, or on that first step for doing all the customer discovery. Any other questions?
Well, if there are no more, it's that point in the presentation where we ask our question. Ross, what can we at 1 Million Cups and the local community do to help you advance Brave Launch and the product and service development that you're working on?
So to help us share, well, first apply if this fits what you want to do, and then share this with other people that you know, other entrepreneurs that you network with, and things like that. Give this information out so that we can get more applicants into that system. Okay, and so we have the 10 best teams going through this cohort. Thank you very much.